Have you ever noticed how some people, no matter how much they achieve, carry a quiet emptiness inside them? It's subtle at first, a lingering feeling you can't quite name, a sense that something important was missing long before you even knew what love was supposed to feel like. If you grew up without feeling truly loved, without someone holding you and saying, "You matter just as you are," it shapes everything, your decisions, your relationships, even the way you see yourself. You learn early on that the world doesn't come with a guarantee of affection. You learn to survive without it. And survival, as it turns out, comes at a cost. Your brain, wired for connection, starts rewiring itself for protection instead. Neural circuits designed for trust get tangled with fear. Reward centers that should respond to comfort and praise start responding to anything that feels like safety instead. You wonder why intimacy feels so hard, why every compliment is doubted, why closeness sometimes triggers anxiety rather than warmth. It's not a flaw, it's a survival strategy carved into your nervous system when love wasn't available. Your ego learned to protect itself because your heart didn't feel protected. And here's the thing most people don't talk about. This absence of early love doesn't just vanish when you grow up. It lingers. It whispers in your choices. It shapes your friendships, your partnerships, even the way you pursue success. Maybe you throw yourself into work, into hobbies, into achievements. But underneath, there's a quiet longing for approval that feels almost unreachable. And this is where awareness becomes your superpower. Because once you recognize these patterns, once you see how deeply your early experiences sculpted your adult self, you can start to disentangle them. But before we dive deeper, let me pause here. If you haven't subscribed yet, you're missing insights most people will never know. These are the psychological truths that quietly dictate your life, your relationships, and even your sense of worth. Back to the heart of it. Imagine a child sitting in a room full of people, yet feeling invisible. The meals are served, clothes are clean, needs are met, but there's no warmth, no affirming gaze, no embrace that says, "You are enough." That child learns a critical lesson. Love is conditional, scarce, or even absent. And as adults, we carry these lessons in silent ways. We may crave connection, yet sabotage intimacy. We may seek validation externally, never realizing it was supposed to come from within. Our attachment systems, designed to connect us, respond with hesitation, mistrust, or overcompensation. You might overgive, overplease, always trying to earn the affection you never felt as a child. Or you might withdraw completely, building walls to feel safe, believing that solitude is the only place where you won't be hurt. It's not just psychology, it's biology. Your nervous system remembers the early environment. Cortisol spikes when you feel unseen. Dopamine doesn't fire in response to love like it should. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, remains scarce. You aren't broken. You are surviving in a body and brain trained to navigate the absence of love. And this survival wiring has ripple effects. In friendships, you may hesitate to trust. In romance, you may struggle to feel safe. In the workplace, you might undervalue your own contributions. But there's hope, because awareness is the first step toward rewiring. Start noticing your patterns, your internal dialogue. You might hear yourself thinking, "I have to earn love. I have to be perfect. I must hide my flaws." These thoughts aren't truth. They are echoes of your early environment, replaying through your adult mind. And here's the next layer of complexity. Because not being loved as a child also shapes how you perceive rejection and failure.
Every criticism can feel amplified. Every perceived slight can trigger intense self-doubt. You might find yourself ruminating, replaying moments, trying to figure out what went wrong. You wonder why patterns repeat, why relationships end the same way, why confidence feels fleeting. And it all comes back to that invisible wound, the lack of early affection. But here's a critical insight. Your adult brain can learn new patterns. Neuroplasticity means your mind isn't trapped in your childhood experiences forever. You can practice self-validation. You can nurture yourself in ways your caregivers did not. You can learn to tolerate closeness, to accept praise, to truly trust another person. It's a gradual, sometimes painstaking process, but every time you notice a defensive reaction, every time you pause before withdrawing, you are creating new neural pathways. And as you build these pathways, the feeling of being unseen starts to soften. The emptiness doesn't vanish, but it becomes something you can hold instead of something that holds you.
Think of it like learning to breathe in a space that once felt suffocating. Every relationship becomes a laboratory, every social interaction a chance to practice trust. And here's a subtle but powerful truth. When you learn to love yourself, you start attracting love that's real and steady. Not the fleeting, conditional approval of childhood, but a mature, reciprocal connection. And that changes everything. You start to understand your career choices, your friendships, even your patterns of self-sabotage in a new light. You see that the struggles weren't signs of failure, but adaptations to survive. And that insight gives you agency. You are no longer just reacting to the echoes of your past. You are consciously shaping your future. This isn't easy, it isn't fast, and some days it will feel like the wound is fresh again, like it never left. But notice the shift when you respond differently, when you pause before shutting down, when you reach out despite the fear. Understanding this can completely change the way you approach every relationship. You begin to distinguish between old fears and current reality. You stop over-personalizing the world. You start to see that most people aren't threats. They're just people, navigating their own stories. And as that understanding deepens, something remarkable happens. You become less reactive, less defensive, more present. Your relationships deepen, your confidence grows, your emotional resilience strengthens. It's like learning a language you never spoke as a child. The language of being seen, heard, and loved. And here's the final layer. Because when you heal, even partially, you begin to break the cycle for the next generation. You start modeling love differently. You teach presence, not absence. You give what you wish you had received. And in that act, the invisible wound begins to transform into something powerful. This realization changes everything. You understand that the absence you experienced wasn't your fault, that the patterns you developed were adaptations, that the love you seek can be cultivated, first within yourself and then shared outward. And maybe, just maybe, you start to feel what it truly means to be held, not by someone else, but by the recognition that you have always been enough. The lifelong effect of not being loved as a child doesn't define you. It teaches you, molds you, and if you pay attention, guides you toward a deeper, more conscious existence. And in that space, in that quiet understanding, you finally meet yourself. And perhaps, for the first time, you feel whole.